This is FCTV, fan-controlled television. Programs created and produced for the fans, by the fans of fan-controlled sports and entertainment. As always, power to the fans. And now, it's time for the show!
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is.
Oh, you messed up now.
It's time for the show. I'm just here in my my off-season ski lodge here in Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
And I'm here in my timeshare overlooking heaven or whatever, the mystery void.
Yeah, this is a virtual background. I might lose this. I just saw it and was like, why not? Yeah, we did it. Hi, I'm Kenny Stevenson.
I'm Alex Enriquez, and everything's happening right now to you and to us.
Yes. First of all, just want to give special thanks to the fan-controlled sports and entertainment network. Alex and I had talked about for months on end about Deadpool and Wolverine, and then it finally became, last week we had talked about we were going to talk about it, and then unfortunately a good friend of ours lost their father, and the funeral was on Friday. So they were very gracious and letting us to not do our show last week. But here we are, and now we don't disregard what it says below. This is not, the title of the show is not Do You Prefer Echo or Echo Light? We're not talking about the Acolyte anymore. We are talking about Deadpool and Wolverine.
Called Playing in the Deep End of the Dead Pool with Wolverine.
Well done. Actually, I think I titled it Deadpool and Wolverine starring Robert Downey Jr. But
Hooray.
Yeah, we're in the Cape Space. That's what this is. Fan-controlled fandom. We are in the Cape Space. We are talking all things where people wear capes. They wear capes to fight superheroes. They wear to fight superheroes. Superheroes wear capes to fight villains. But you know, in a not a lot of capes in we got a duster in we got two dusters in but we'll get to those.
Dusters.
We'll
Yeah.
get to those, but no capes. But Alex, how are you doing?
Well, I tell you, I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see.
I'm backed up and clacked up. I've got business. I've got a little bit of pleasure going. The wife is out of town, so I'm running the entire empire right now, and I'll tell you, it's daunting.
It is daunting. It is. I know there's a lot of dogs you're probably walking, and all that stuff is going down, and it's probably a lot to handle. Too hot to handle, too cold to hold. They're the Ghostbusters, and they're in control. That's a copyrighted song I just sang, featuring Bobby Brown. So let's not dwell on that. But
and may he rest.
May he rest. So, spoiler alert, we're about to be talking about all things Deadpool, Wolverine. It's been a week. If you're on social media, I'm sure you know who's in this movie, but if you don't, just a heads up. We're also going to be talking about what happened at Comic-Con. If you've also been living under a rock and don't want to know who's playing Victor Von Doom in Doom Avengers 5 and 6, don't listen to this, but if you've been living under a rock. But we're mostly be talking about in our quick hits. We got to talk about the quick pieces of nerd news. We got to talk about what happened at Comic-Con. But first, we got to play this piece of music, baby.
Quick hits.
Give it to me. Let it rain on me.
Bang! Let that just shower over you like a wet sponge.
I didn't hear
Maybe?
it.
You didn't hear it?
No.
Oh, because you're on your iPad.
Dang it. Am I not going to get any musical cues this week then?
I don't know. Well, it's there. I heard it. So I'm
right.
assuming people heard it. I hope people heard it.
Okay. I hope they did too. It's like the highlight of my week.
Yeah, for sure. Great. So the biggest pieces of news, let's just roll it out. It was San Diego Comic-Con over the weekend. We wouldn't have been able to even talk about this last Friday if we were doing a show, because this all stuff happened. The big stuff happened on Saturday. Friday night, there was a screening of Deadpool and Wolverine in which all of the surprise people, with the exception of one, was there. The brief one who's during the Wolverine montage, where he's looking for Wolverines. That was the only.
Yes.
That was the only surprise person who was not there. So that was the first kind of like public reveal that some of these folks were in the movie. But Saturday was the first time Marvel had been back at Hall H for a couple of years. And let's just like go through the four things they talked about. The first thing they talked about was Captain America, Brave New World. They brought out all the people in it. They brought out Anthony Mackie and Joaquin Phoenix. I almost said the character's name is Joaquin Torres. I don't forget the actor's name, but whatever. The guy who plays
Hawkman. His name is Hawkman.
The guy who plays New Falcon, and we got Tim Blake Nelson out there, who was not allowed to say that he is green and has a big head. They asked him that. He was basically like, what's happened to the leader since? And he's like, I can't really say. So
watch the movie.
That basically means he's got a big old head. And who else we got? I can't remember exactly, but we also got Harrison Ford came out. So they basically showed a longer trailer. So we'll talk about the things that they talked about. What we got confirmed from Captain America, the panel here, is that there is a substance that has been absent from the MCU, and it's not vibranium, but it rhymes with it. It's called adamantium, and we now have adamantium officially. Well, I guess Deadpool Wolverine technically is officially the arrival of adamantium in the first 5 minutes of the movie, but adamantium, it's there it is. They said it. It's happening.
Once again, highlighting the benefit that we all shared, that they didn't go with the first draft of adamantium, which was just strong numium.
That would have been the Lucas draft.
Yeah.
Not
little rough draft Sam.
Not strong numium, but something better. And then it was strong numium. That would be the Lucas. The Lucas play.
That's what the lightsaber hilts are made of. It's indestructible unless it hits another lightsaber made of strong numium. George, come up with a name for the music, and then cut to later. It's like, well, okay, just get him out of here.
George.
Yeah. I love the reveals from that. By the way, I texted Kenny this, but I'm a long time Comic-Con veteran of a certain period. I think I was at the first official MCU Hall H panel. Whoa. I was probably at an MCU panel that wasn't big enough to be in Hall H, when everybody was going nuts for a whole hour about Iron Man. That they were going to do one Iron Man movie.
I know.
And you cut to 21 years later, and it's like, hey, we just need a treadmill, basically a moving walkway of stars, and of like our 25 interconnected projects we're going to announce. I mean, I think the first time I saw Robert Downey Jr. talk about Iron Man, there was a rumor that this new series of projects were going to be interconnected, that they confirmed like at one of those Comic-Cons.
And here we are talking about, Harrison Ford turning into Red Hulk. I mean, all kinds of stuff. Another big, it's wild. It's truly wild. But also too, we got a glimpse of kind of like what this kind of readjusted MCU is going to be. We're not like, there wasn't Eternals 2 announced. There was nothing announced about Shang-Chi. There's a lot of characters that we introduced during Phase 4 that we just have no idea what's going to happen to them. I'm assuming we're going to see them in Secret Wars, because I said 1,000 times, Secret Wars, read the comics. Secret Wars is everybody fighting everybody. So everybody's going to be in those movies, including, I think, some of these X-Men, and we'll talk about that in a second.
And I think every time somebody like Moon Knight or Shang-Chi, front flips into frame, they'll give a little, thanks guys, I was in San Francisco because a new Sanctum Sanctorum needed to be built. And then, if people respond well enough to that, they'll go, well, here's the new Disney Plus series where you get to watch Wong teach Moon Knight how to. By the way,
Wong apparently is man. So there's two reveals other things we learned from the Brave New World panel. One is we finally found out who Giancarlo Esposito is playing. He is playing a character named Sidewinder, who is the head of the Serpent Society. So this was surprising to me, because everything we had read about this movie was that the Serpent Society stuff was not working, and that was some of the stuff that they had to kick out of the movie. And maybe
they said that it was like almost completely excised from the movie.
Yeah, so to be fair, and I think if you watch Eric Voss's breakdown of this stuff, and this is something that I know from, Serpent Society is a kind of, in one of the more recent Sam Wilson Captain America runs, which I have read, Serpent Society is who he's going up against. So this is very like, and there was an earlier draft of Captain America Civil War before it was announced. It was announced as Captain America Serpent Society. So they've wanted to do this for a while. Now, that being said, in the comics, the Serpent Society are quite silly. Like, just quite silly.
Right. I mean, are they to the left sillier, right less silly than the man they fight, who in the comic books has wings on his head and big scalloped boots and a flag on his chest?
They're way sillier. They're way sillier.
Okay.
And
So
I think,
to the left of.
well, I think that what this is I think in their, they mentioned during the panel that this was more on the lines of Winter Soldier. This is grounded. This is a political thriller. And to put a bunch of people who are dressed as literal snakes in these movies probably doesn't ground this thing. It probably makes it a little silly. We already have a giant guy with a green guy with a giant head and a red Harrison Ford turning into the Hulk. So there's that. But so we find that Giancarlo. I think this is going to be a more like street level Serpent Society, whatever's happening there. The other thing we learned is that Thunderbolt Ross says in the trailer, Harrison Ford says in the trailer, he says something to the effect of like, I need you to put together a new Avengers. Something to that effect. And there's going to be a new Avengers. I don't know if that's going to happen, if Sam's going to do that. Sam famously was on the side of Cap, and which is being like, I don't care about them Sokovia Accords. I'm not a fascist. I'm on the woke mob, and do your math. Cap in Civil War is in the woke mob. He's not on Team Fascism.
Yeah, dude.
But so there's something questions there. Like, is Sam the person to ask to put together? Is this going to be used as some way as leverage to get Sam in line with being a Captain America? Yada yada. Who knows?
Yeah, it's an interesting proposition that they pitch here, that it sort of erases that big statement he makes at the end of his at Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, that really well timed.
I'm Captain America.
That was, I'll tell you what. God bless that show. I mean, that show was the first thing that was like halfway done. COVID hits. They had to swap out a whole storyline about a viral infection. They had to pivot pretty quickly, and then it clearly just at the end were like, had something else planned, then just were like, screw it. He's just going to talk about it in the middle of the street in like a 7-minute speech. That was like tough. It was a tough hang for him, but he did the best he could do.
Well, you know that the TV and movies are all about tell and not show. So I think that
totally
keeping with that.
That's the
philosophy.
thing. TV and film are very much they're not a visual thing. They're very much an explaining thing, medium. Not a visual medium. You got to tell people what they're seeing at all times. Yeah, so that was interesting, but I think this kind of leads into the Thunderbolts, is this idea of Avengers and Red Hulk and all this stuff, because the next we're getting Captain America in February on Valentine's Day. What an amazing, my wife is going to love spending time watching a Marvel movie on Valentine's Day. It's going to be a real treat for her.
Yeah, if I may be so bold, I will say to my lovely bride, look, Valentine's Day is a day it's all about romance, and nothing gets my Harley Davidson engine revving quite like spending 2.5 to 3.5 hours hip deep in the MCU watching Sam Wilson's fishing boat out there on the water.
Nothing is gonna get my motorboat and get you motorboated faster than me seeing that motorboat. You know what I mean? There's nothing gonna get me hyper. I'm talking like the Washington Monument, like from 0 to 12 o'clock, like right away, boom.
Bubba, you time it right, surf, turf, save the earth, and then you're in bed by 10:30. And everybody's a winner.
Yeah, but then 3 months after that, we get Thunderbolts, *, which I loved watching Rob Delaney host this panel, because he kept asking people, like, what do you think about Thunderbolts, *? Like,
he's the man.
Rob oh my God,
just like such a truly unique, like,
wonderful
spark.
Wonderful human being. I know him somewhat. Just a wonderfully nice man, like kind of counter to who he is on social media. a beautiful human being, but also and he just absolutely crushes in Deadpool and Wolverine.
100%. And that they set aside some time to dedicate to his son that he lost was really touching at the end of something that was truly, I felt, earnestly heartfelt about the whole thing.
Absolutely beautiful. We'll get there. But Thunderbolts is, so we got the whole Thunderbolts came out. We got everybody in it. We got Ghost. We had U.S. Agent, a.k.a. J.D. Vance. That's what we should call him now.
Captain J.D. Vance.
And that's perfect. U.S. Agent Winter Soldier, Yelena Belova, JLD. Gosh, who is Julia Louis-Dreyfus's name? What's her character name?
Contessa
Valentina Belanova, Rafael Nadal, and
Quesadilla.
I'm missing. So and David Harbour as Red Guardian, and
in costume. He showed up to the panel in full Red Guardian garb.
And Taskmaster, the actress who didn't play Taskmaster, but Taskmaster is supposedly in this. We saw Geraldine Viswanathan and Lewis Pullman, who confirmed that he's basically, his character's name is Bob, but he didn't say he was Sentry, but that's basically who he is. And we got basically what we kind of thought this movie was going to be. This is kind of like a Suicide Squad. This is a kind of leftovers, but some fun there. Like, I think, I love David Harbour. I was like refreshing to, oh yeah, that's right. Like, Red Guardian was a really fun part of Black Widow, and I'm excited to see him kind of cook a little bit. That's pretty fun.
I like that they all called out that, or it was called out that Florence Pugh is really showcased and highlighted in this movie, because if you think what she made of her co-starring role in Black Widow, like that they're gonna, as we like to say, let her cook. That's really exciting to me as a sort of, I mean, I guess she'd be the counter to Harley Quinn in the Suicide Squad, if you will.
I guess so. Yeah, I'm unabashedly like a giant Florence Pugh fan. I think she's a wonderful actor. Very easy on the eyes, but also just interviews and stuff. She just seems just like I'm just like an electric.
She's cool.
Yeah, she's an electric talent. Like gonna be like acting for the next 50 years. Like just really just an unbelievable talent. So yeah, like it seems like she's gonna be kind of like the cornerstone for this movie. So we didn't like necessarily like get a bunch of reveals, but what I will say is this idea around the asterisk. Like there's a couple of like, and here's the thing. Here's a couple of theories that I have. Again, don't write the movie. I did not write the movie. I have nothing to do. Don't take this as like, this is what's happening. I've heard some people say that like, if you pair it with the fact that Sam has just been asked to make a new Avengers, this is kind of like, this is the asterisk. This is Thunderbolt Ross's other team. This is like, maybe the team that Captain America is putting together is more like for visuals, and these guys are doing the dirty work. There's the asterisk. I also think the asterisk could also mean they're called the Thunderbolts, but Thunderbolt Ross is actually no more. He's just Red Hulk now all the time, and I think Red Hulk is in this movie. That's what I think is a big reveal of this movie. Is that he's in it? And I feel like they're trying to say he's not in it. Blah blah blah. I feel like he's in it.
I love it, and I mean, I hope that it's just. It would be silly but fun if the president becomes Red Hulk in Captain America. And he's like, well, I'm still the president. And he like serves out his term as Red Hulk.
Hey, man. Hey, all my Christians, come and vote for me. You never have to vote again. That's what the Red Hulk would be saying. Try to pry this job away from me with my dead red hands.
It's just every 4 years, it just says smash and the year number. It's like, yeah, I guess. That's what it is.
Oh gosh, we got to crank it out. We got still got two more things to talk about. Fantastic Four. That was another big one. We got actual test footage. Like that's how this movie literally started shooting on Monday. Everybody from the cast flew in from London to do this. So we got the full cast, except, well, just the Fantastic Four. We got Vanessa Kirby, we got Jonathan Quinn, we got Evan Moss Baccarat, and we got Petty Pascal in a Cypress Hill shirt. Way to go, guy. Like, real next level stuff. We got the Fantastic Four car came flying in.
Amazing. And, fantastic car.
Yeah, Matt Shankman, what Fantastic Car was also Deadpool and Wolverine. Matt Shankman was there to kind of talk about stuff. We got a real kind of taste as to what we are going to be getting with this movie, which is, this is an alternative.
Oh gosh, it's still, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know if anybody else is hearing it or if it's just on my end, but your audio's been very crackly. Not like this, but just kind of like.
How about now?
Better.
Okay, I hope my audio hasn't been cracked the whole time. Yeah, so we got a taste of what this is. This is an alternate version of the 60s. This is a different MCU. And this just, I'll tell you what, it's just previs, it's just tests. This looks pretty dang cool.
I'm ready. The idea that they are prepping us all to be in this set aside thing where they can make bigger swings is really cool, because that's sort of what Quantum Mania was. It takes place in this whole other shunted off universe that's visually different, allows big visual swings. And that was one of the best parts of that movie. And I think they're going to be able to execute some of the same stuff with Fantastic Four First Steps. I'm really encouraged. I love mid-century design.
Oh, so yeah.
I'm excited to see what that New York looks like. Michael Giacchino's sort of Incredibles-esque score is going to be really good. I read a little blurb from him about needing to differentiate between those two, because it'd be very easy for them to sonically align. I guess thematically or whatever, but
sonically align. I love that. Let's go.
Hey, take it easy. Come on, 6 years at a junior college, you got to wind up with something. I thought that it was after Marvel is always making a statement at Hall H, whether they're there or not, and to come in this big, which we haven't even gotten to the big reveal yet, was truly. It was like. It was one of the first times in a long time where I was like, man, I wish I was there.
Yeah, totally. I'm going to lose my background here. It's driving me a little crazy. I'm really into this movie. You're right. I'm a big mid-century modern fan as well. I just think there's something to, and we've mentioned this before on a lot of other things. We talk about Loki, when we talk about, like, there is something to when you are watching something where that much attention to detail is put on everything. Not that like movies like Brave New World or grounded movies like Black Widow don't have that level of production design, but when there is something, when that level of attention, they gave out little maps to everybody, maps of like the New York that this is and stuff like that. It's just, this is really fascinating. We also got confirmation that they are already going to have their powers. This isn't an origin story, even though it's called First Steps. We did see a little brief Galactus head looking through a window, which many people were like, Galactus would be much bigger than not be able to look through a window. So I don't know. Who the hell knows? He's a giant person who devours galaxies. He can probably.
He was a cloud in the last movie they made him in. Like, shut up.
He can be as big or as small as he wants. Who cares? He's Galactus. Who cares? Anyway, they confirmed this will just say, because we didn't get a lot of stuff. This is a movie that's just starting to shoot, but they showed us some pre-viz footage that is like shot like an old like Mr. Wizard TV show with Pedro Pascal like teaching a class. And I mean, Pedro Pascal, there's something to just having him in the toolbox is just really refreshing.
I agree. I think that he's also, I think symbolically too, in the same way that giving him the Mandalorian was a way of sort of like venturing into new territory, handing him the keys to something new. I think that's similar here. I think they really are lacking, I think, a Robert Downey Jr. In this, somebody who is at the center of things, like not just as a character, but like as a performer. The dad of everything. And
he's America's daddy, baby. Everyone loves.
We don't have Steve Rogers. We don't have Tony Stark, and I think Reed Richards is the third of the. And we don't have T'Challa.
Yeah,
he's I would argue that Reed is the one of the four heads of the Marvel Mount Rushmore of dads.
Well, I think too, and I think this is something that Eric Voss pointed out as well. For those who don't know, like, and we've mentioned this on the show before, in comics lore, Reed Richards is the smartest person in the Marvel universe. Period. End of story. Like, there is, like, and like Tony Stark, it's like Reed Richards and Tony Stark are, and then Bruce Banner. Those are your three kind of super
Victor Von
genius.
Doom is in there.
Victor Von Doom. I'm talking about good guys. So, but Reed Richards is the top. He is universally known in the comics as the smartest person to exist. So, but we haven't had him yet, but we've had Tony for so long, and now we haven't had. So now to reintroduce somebody who not only is canonically known as like a central leadership figure, but also just charismatically can carry that torch. It's exciting. It's really exciting to see Pedro Pascal work in this space. And then to segue into the next movie, we know that they're both going to be, Fantastic Four is going to be in both these films. Avengers, we got the full announcement that the Russo brothers are back. They're going to be directing Avengers 5 and 6. Very exciting. Avengers 5 is now officially no longer called Kang Dynasty. It is now called Doomsday. And God, we have so much we have to talk about now. We still haven't even talked about Deadpool. But we mentioned Robert Downey Jr. in the name of this show. So people know that we're going to talk about that. And then it was revealed, they said there's only one actor who could play our Victor Von Doom. And then a bunch of Dooms walked out, and then out walked, we've all seen it, Robert Downey Jr. took his freaking mask off, and Robert Downey Jr. is going to be playing Victor Von Doom. Now,
Robert Van Doomy Joomer.
Robert Doomer Von Victor Schumann.
Junior.
Basil 14. Yeah, it's been too long since we had an Avengers film, since 2019, and we're not going to get one until 2026, so 7 years. But so everybody, obviously, there were some people. I think initial reaction, like just watching that video, is truly like speed. It is like watching that video and watching people react to that is exhilarating. But then the dust settles, and then a lot of people were like, well, how are they going to do this? And I'm like, well, they're going to have a movie. They're going to have a movie. They're going to be able to do this. Like, this isn't like an out-of-nowhere thing.
Everything has been, there's been recasts and redos and recuts and everything. Like, they'll just do it.
Yeah, they'll just do it. But that being said, just like initial reaction, I'm going to put my virtual background back on just because I'm feeling saucy. Initial reaction to Robert Downey Jr. being cast as Victor Von Doom.
My initial reaction, actually, very, very first blush. I watched the video of the reveal, and if you go back and watch it, as he's going to pull the mask off, you hear somebody very clearly go, Jake Gyllenhaal. Like, and
I would have loved that, frankly, but go ahead.
I think that person needs to be found and re-educated and made into a different kind of person. That's my first reaction, that I have to share fandom with that dingleberry who can't just like be excited in the moment, but has to like, this is what I think. And like the biggest entertainment moment in a week, like
in a month.
Shut up, you dingleberry. You're a dingleberry.
My
Nobody
wife knew that this happened, and she had never knows what's going on in the Marvel universe. And she was like, "Oh, Robert Downey Jr. is playing some guy in the MCU." Like, so that's how big of a thing it was.
I think it was so big. My wife said, "How are they going to do that? Isn't he Iron Man?" You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
Like, I think that guy should have to pass a test to be able to vote. But that's just me. That's sorry.
Just you. But just your reaction personally on how he's going to play.
I think that for a character who classically never takes his mask off, it might never be an issue. You might never have a character who looks like Tony Stark.
That's something I've heard no one say. And that's a very good point. I think the reason why people are a little hemming and hawing over it is because he probably has to be in the Fantastic Four movie. He probably, because I mean, Victor Von Doom canonically comes from the Fantastic Four comics, so
Right.
he probably has to be in that movie. Now, there's so many different. We already know. Here, I'm just gonna put this out here, guys and gals, folks. We already know that Fantastic Four: First Steps takes place in an alternate universe. So who is to say that Victor Von Doom doesn't just look like Tony Stark? Who the hell knows? Who knows? Who cares?
Also, do we know that he's playing Victor Von Doom, or does he come from a universe where their Tony Stark becomes Doctor Doom, which is contextually just as ridiculous a name as Iron Man?
Well, there are comics where there's one where they switch places. I think Eric Voss was showing. There's one where Victor Von Doom and Iron Man trade bodies. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe who cares? Like, they'll figure it out.
They spent millions of dollars,
$80 million.
And that's not counting all of the creative work, because they're not just going to spend that and go. They have to know what they're doing before, right? They have to have a plan to make it work. And so maybe we just see what that plan results in and then argue about the results.
It's hilarious to me. Like, people want to say, like, oh, this is a Hail Mary. This is like Marvel. This is like Marvel going. This to me is like, I get that sentiment about like, well, they're really washed now that they're just going back into the bullpen to, get their guy back. But I will say this. They did make a big swing with Jonathan Majors, which at the time they make casting of him was an incredibly inspired choice. And he was an unbelievably young, up-and-coming, dynamic performer that then proved to be a monster. So, like, what do you want them to do? They can't just then go out. I'm not saying either way. I'm saying, just like you, let's see what they do and then judge it based on that. But to say that, like, I get them making if this is considered a safe choice, I get it. The last time they made a big swing, the person ended up being a total monster. And I liked the idea of possibly Coleman Domingo playing Kang. That would have been a very inspired choice. But there's ways where this works. Like Reed Richards and Kang, these things all intertwine with each other. Like, there's comic ways to make this make sense. You know what I mean?
I think that I would challenge anybody in the fandom that, to come up with all the ways it doesn't work takes about just as much imagination as to try and come up with the ways, oh, they could do this. Oh, they could do this. I wonder if they'll do this, to keep it in a space of curiosity and wonder, rather than leading with disdain, leading with disappointment before the man has even committed an inch of celluloid.
Yes.
I think it would make all of our lives a lot better if every interaction and thing we saw, we go, okay, hold on. How can I assume that this wasn't, or just go, I'm going to see,
I know we've already established in this MCU that people are not played by the same people throughout universes. And you might say, well, when? How about when we saw Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire come in as Peter Parker? How about when we saw Jonathan Krasinski as Reed Richards? And we've already recast that. Like, it's already been established that now we have anchor beings. That's something that we learned. And we'll talk about that in a second. So there is a world where Tony Stark is an anchor being, which is something that Eric Voss posited. And then that's how, maybe that's something that's happened. Maybe this anchor being, maybe we have a split from the timeline, and this is a wrong timeline where Tony Stark is evil. I don't know. Who cares? Let them figure it out. That's what we're waiting for them to do. So let them do it. And if you just want to take it on its face, like, in terms of actors, let's just talk about the performer. You can't really do much worse. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the man is he's an excellent actor.
Winner.
He is an excellent actor. So it's not like they rolled out there and just got like, hey man, look, it's LeBron James, like somebody who's popular. They like actually like rolled out like a great actor.
Yeah, right. It's not just stunt casting, and it's somebody who, again, is this their first villain who's performing through a stationary mask? Like that could be something. I mean, I think he's a very, very dynamic performer. And like, I think it's got to say something that both his nomination and his win at the Academy Awards were playing real people, right? He plays a real dude in Oppenheimer. I don't know which real bald man, but he did. And he played Chaplin. Like I wish people would remember again those first Hall H days and how improbable all of this was.
Yep.
And to just you know what? Maybe the cotton candy wasn't as sweet as you wanted it to be, but at least you got to have some dessert. Because there was a lot of years there where there was no desserts.
Nothing. And you know what? We brought
boiled. They didn't even make the Brussels sprouts good back then. The Brussels sprouts were just boiled.
We brought back the two guys who made some of the sweetest candy you've ever had. And we brought them back. And they made a guy with a giant purple scrotum on his chin that was fully mo-capped, and they made him into a really full, realized character. So let's see what they can do with Robert Downey Jr. behind a mask. Who cares? Let's let him do it. Anyway, we got it. Anyway, a lot of time there. There was a big stuff to cover.
It's big to cover.
Let's do the quick piece of sports news. We're on the fan-controlled sports and entertainment, Twitch, Twitter, all them streams. Alex, take us out to the raceway, ?
Well, I mean, it is an interesting time to cover Formula One racing as we are in the summer break.
The silly season?
The silly season, which already commenced before all of this, as we learned that Carlos Sainz finally made a decision. He's going to back marker team Williams on a multi-year contract that should take him theoretically through the new regulations in 2026. But as we have seen before with these sorts of contractual situations that cover multiple years, they are contractual until they aren't. And parties will find the money and the resources to sever contractual obligations. So it is a pretty decent dice roll for Carlos Sainz to make at a backmarker team coming into not only new body regulations, but a new engine. Williams will be getting a new engine supplier, a new body. They're owned by a new company who is making vast investments of capital. This move could be the jackpot for Carlos Sainz, but he probably has an out to go to a bigger, better team if it doesn't work out for him. What are his fortunes going to be? Time's going to tell. Back to you, Kenny.
I just go into a total fugue state when you start talking about that stuff. I love it.
Why? I don't even know if that was anything.
As you do when I go. So first of all, quick disclaimer. I have a lot of issues with the way the Olympics are run. Mainly because I appreciate the fact that they are now only being hosted in cities that already have the infrastructure in terms of stadiums, already have the structures in place to take them. They're not going to be building new structures. It's probably been the biggest criminal offense that the IOC has been doing over the years.
You and I have both been to Athens and seen
I haven't been to Athens, but I will be
soon.
Oh, no,
I went last summer and just derelict Olympic structure after derelict Olympic structure, and not in the good way that they have from like thousands of years ago.
No, just absolutely decimates economies, cultures, the things that the police have to do to sweep these cities out so that the precious people from all over the world don't get to see that there's actual people who are in need in our streets. And that's going to happen in LA in 2028. Don't let that be known. Let that be they're going to sweep downtown LA, and it's going to be a travesty that's not going to be talked about. All that being said, I'm thoroughly enjoying the 3x3 competition. People don't know this or not, there is 3-on-3 basketball in the Olympics, and it is freaking awesome. The big three is something we have in America. It is not as good as 3x3. It is a 12-second shot clock. The second that ball goes through, the other team has possession and the clock starts again. So it is like 12 seconds, 12 seconds, 12 seconds. It is fast moving. It is physical. It is fun. USA is struggling right now because their top player, Jimmer Fredette, who is a kind of an NCAA hero from like 15 years ago, hurt his leg. So they've only been playing, you're allowed one sub. They've had no subs. They've been playing with just 3 players against 4, basically, and they've yet to win. But just exciting stuff. Look for it on Peacock. 3x3 is what it's called. I absolutely have fallen head over heels in love with it. It's my favorite sport. Alex, you know what I'm always a fan of is all the great sponsors we got. God, we got to crush this show. We don't have a lot of time. We got to keep it pushing, baby. Who's the sponsor?
So it's an old favorite. It's Summerfest at Uncle Rick Caruso's.
Oh, no.
All August long, we've got Summerfest going on, and we've got events like Bible Stories with Uncle Rick. From Adam and Eve to the invention of Nordstrom's, hear the biblical history of the Grove. We got Race at the Old Swimming Hole. First across the water feature during a full fountain show wins. Bonus points for being unmangled by underwater equipment. And then we've also got the Old World Wine Stomp. But you better let Uncle Rick get a look at those Tootsies first. So those are Summerfest at Uncle Rick Caruso's The Grove. Did I tell you that the last time I did that joke, somebody came up to me and asked if Rick was my uncle, and I said no, and they said he was a close personal family friend.
Whoa! was that at one of your shows?
It was. I did a presentation at a conference for physicists in medicine last week, and Are
you for real?
Yeah, I did a slideshow about physics and medicine as a comedian, and
sure.
I had sponsored slides, and it was brought to you by Uncle Rick Caruso's The Grove, the Americana at Brand, and the City Hall at the Commons at Valencia. And one of the tech guys came up to me afterwards and asked if Rick was really my uncle, and I said no, and he said, oh, he's a close personal family friend.
Oh my God! Incredible stuff.
You're not uncle in the city, isn't he?
You're not gonna like my next 14 jokes. All right, let's get to it. Deadpool and Wolverine. We gotta crank this out.
All right.
Deadpool and Wolverine. Let me give you a plot synopsis as fast as I possibly can. Here we go. In 2018, after Wade Wilson uses Cable's time travel device to bring his girlfriend, Vanessa Carlisle, back to life, he travels from his universe to the sacred timeline, hoping to join the Avengers and give his life added meaning. He is rejected by Happy Hogan, played by Jon Favreau, who's the first reveal in this movie. 6 years later, Wade is broken up with Vanessa and retired from being the mass mercenary Deadpool. He works as a used car salesman with his friend Peter Wisdom, aka Rob Delaney. During Wade's birthday party, the TVA captures him and brings him to Mr. Paradox, who explains that they are an organization outside of time that monitors the sacred timeline, and what we know what the TVA is. Thank you. Paradox reveals that Wade's timeline is deteriorating. What is this? Sorry, I'm getting a note. I'm getting an audio note. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Okay. Who explains that the organization outside of the time monitors the sacred timeline, blah, blah, blah. Paradox Wade's timeline is deteriorating as a result of the death of its stabilizing anchor being Logan. Paradox plans to use a device called a Time Ripper to speed up this process rather than spend thousands of years waiting for the timeline to die naturally. He offers to spare Wade by sending him to the sacred timeline, where he's expected to play an important role in future events, revealed by him being held by Thor, Chris Hemsworth, the next reveal in this movie, crying, and we don't know what that's about. Wade steals Paradox temp pad and uses it to travel to Logan's grave, hoping to resurrect him and save their timeline. When this fails, Wade uses the temp pad to travel the multiverse in search of an alternate universe variant of Logan that can replace his own, including Henry Cavill as Logan in one of these, because that's been rumored stunt casting for a long time. Wade returns to the TVA with a variant of Logan and is told by Paradox that an anchor being cannot be replaced, least of all by this variant, who is considered to be the worst Wolverine in the multiverse. When Wade deduces that Paradox is acting without the knowledge of his superiors, Paradox sends Wade and Logan to the Void, where all things are consumed by the creature Eliath. Wade and Logan are captured with Johnny Storm, played by Chris Evans, and taken to Cassandra Nova, the powerful and sadistic twin sister of X-Men and X-Men leader Charles Xavier. Cassandra, who made a deal with the TVA to remain in the Void, kills Johnny and leaves Wade and Logan to be consumed by Eliath. The pair manage to escape. Logan and Wade meet a variant of Deadpool called Nice Pool, who gives them a car and directs them toward a resistance group who have been fighting against Cassandra. Logan agrees to work with Wade in exchange for the TVA fixing his timeline, but when he realizes this may not be possible, the pair fight and are both left unconscious. They are found by the resistance group consisting of Laura, a.k.a. X-23, Elektra, played by Jennifer Garner, Blade, played by Wesley Snipes, and Gambit, played by Channing Tatum. Wade proposes an alliance to fight Cassandra, and Logan agrees to join them after a conversation with Laura. The Resistance members distract Cassandra's henchmen, while Wade and Logan block her powers by placing Juggernaut's helmet on her head. Cassandra is betrayed by her own follower Pyro on behalf of Paradox and almost dies until Logan convinces Wade to remove the helmet. Cassandra heals herself and opens a portal to Earth 1005, where Wade and Logan learn that Paradox has completed the Time Ripper. Almost done. Cassandra learns about Paradox's plan from Pyro and travels to Earth. She learns how to use the Time Ripper from Paradox's mind and plans to destroy all timelines, leaving only the Void. Cassandra summons an army of Deadpool variants who kill Nicepool and battle Wade and Logan until Peter arrives and convinces them to relent. Paradox tells, in those, Blake Lively and Matthew McConaughey are in those Deadpools, and Rob Delaney is revealed to have a massive penis during that scene. Paradox tells Wade and Logan that one of them could destroy the Time Ripper by disrupting its power flow, but this would kill them. Wade and Logan destroy the Time Ripper, killing Cassandra in the process, and are able to survive by sharing the burden. Paradox is arrested by Hunter B-15 of the TVA, who reveals that the actions of Wade and Logan have saved Earth 1005 from deteriorating. Wade asks Hunter B-15 to save the Resistance group from the Void and change the history of Logan's world. She explains the latter is not possible because Logan's history is what led him to being a hero now. Later, Wade invites Logan to meet his friends during a gathering that includes Laura. Logan encourages Wade to reconcile with Vanessa. Alex, what'd you think of the movie?
I had so much fun. This was the best Deadpool by far. I think that it was absent of most of my things that really kind of hampered my appreciation of the last movies. There's little minimal quippiness, but it had so much heart to it, and everybody involved went full bore. It just was. Yeah, I was really happy to have seen it. It was really fun. I think it's the first Deadpool I saw in a theater.
Same.
And I seeing a screen accurate Gambit played by Channing Tatum and a screen accurate Wolverine with the mask and the eyes. What was it, like a year after we saw our comics accurate Beast? And it's we're eating good in the neighborhood, as they say. Yeah.
You were the first person I thought of when the cowl came over his head, because the rumors had been like all these people were like pointing out in some of these trailer clips that like Hugh Jackman's face looks a little off because he's probably wearing the cowl in this scene, and a lot of those scenes came and went, and he wasn't in the cowl, and I was like, when am I gonna get that cowl? And then all of a sudden, when I completely forgotten that he was gonna do it, he did it, and I was like, oh boy. And I was wondering, like, that must have been a real Goo-Gah moment for you.
It was, I will say this, I was mixed about it. It was cool. I could embrace how cool it was, them bursting out of the back of the bus, all that. But to me, he is so associated with the character that when he pulled that mask down, it kind of just seemed like the guy on Hollywood Boulevard a little bit.
You're right. It is a little, because you take away the Hugh Jackman of it all, because Hugh Jackman, you're right, is very much Wolverine. But there was something to just seeing him like scream and they all start going. I was like, oh, it was like rocket fuel.
The Wolveriness of this movie, it made me appreciate that character overall so much more. Like that scene where he busts out of the front window of the van and does this gallop along the ground with his claws. Like, I love when it's like, okay, it's not just Claw Guy. There's like a whole thing around it. They're not just his weapons. It's an expression of this thing inside him.
Yeah, you have to forget that he is kind of like a wild animal. That's really the power set. It's the healing power, but also that he is kind of like a wild. Like he can sense, he can smell people, stuff like that. Like he's an animal. My reaction to this movie, I agree. I traditionally have not seen Deadpool movies in the theaters. I've enjoyed them, but I've also found them, like we've talked on the show, they're a little bit too many jokes. They're a little bit too, but I thought a lot of the jokes, you're right. There was a lot of jokes in this movie that I thought were funny. I just like the whole bit and just things that I would have never in a million years thought would happen. They're surprising jokes. Like even towards the end when, what's her face, B-15 or B-14, whatever, she is like walking around the room and then sees Rob Delaney and is like just absolutely smitten. That was just like, that cracked me up. I thought that was funny as hell.
The way that in the midst of all of that,
yes,
very long, awkward holds in those cuts. That was so funny. But that's the thing. Like, I think the movie works, and Deadpool works when the humor is generally a matter of timing rather than delivery. If it's not, it's not about like the construction of the specific. It's a butt that looks like a ear that looks like a thing. I'm like, I get tired of it. But watching this character, we like ping pong off of stuff that's coming at him, which a lot of stuff comes at him in this movie. Cool, yeah, that works. That and you know, we obviously had funny people in charge of it.
That's a great point, because it is a lot of the jokes in the past have been like, how silly can I say something, as opposed to this is like timing. There was another joke that I loved, and I forget the way the actual line, but it was like they're in this like they're in the void, and they get into this like diner, and Wolverine's looking around for some alcohol, and he finds rubbing alcohol, and he's just like, oh no, that's rubbing alcohol, you can't drink that. And he drinks it, and then Deadpool says something to the effect of like, oh well, F your liver. And it was delivered like perfectly, like well-timed joke, like really funny. And I was like, okay, great. Like I had moments where I genuinely was laughing. And then let's just cut to some of the best, like one of the best highlights of this movie is obviously Channing Tatum. Like truly, like it's Blade was a big like, whoa, when because Elektra was already announced. Jennifer Garner was already announced as being in this movie. So when she started walking in, I was like, okay, fine, Elektra, great. And that's what I thought we were going to get. Maybe we get some other people later. But then Blade walks in, and I was like, wow, because, you know, Ryan Reynolds was in Blade Trinity, and it's kind of universally known that they did not get along on set. So, like, that was shocking. And then to see Channing Tatum walk in a comics-accurate Gambit costume. And for those of you who don't know, Channing Tatum was in development on a Gambit movie for, I don't know, 12 years, including to where there was like, and Ryan Reynolds posted this picture, it was taken in like 2015, of the like Fox Marvel universe of all the actors that were in it. And Channing Tatum was in this photo wearing a Gambit shirt. Like that's how long this Gambit movie, and they just, so when the Disney sale of Fox went through, they then basically kind of said the Gambit movie is not happening. So then to have him play Gambit, and not only play Gambit, but do the just I can't imagine this was how the movie was going to be playing. For him to do the silly accent was just what a choice, and it was the right choice, and it was hysterical.
It was great. I think that I get everything. I get that it's a tough nut to crack, because here's the thing. If you can have recognizable name star Channing Tatum be the face of your semi-recognizable name superhero movie, you like pull that trigger, right? So what stopped them? It probably was the idea that what we loved about this, about him, about this blast of fun, it probably would have taken 90 awkward minutes to get to that, to get to the duster, to get to throwing cards. It would have been a lot of don't throw that at me, Chia. Like, you know,
I got to tell you,
in this way, it's perfection.
And the way that we're talking about the comedy, and the way the comedy, like for us, really worked. If you ask the LA comedy scene, everyone hated this movie, but asking us, we enjoyed it. But the reason why I think this works really well too here is this idea of, you have the comic timing of it was fantastic. He gives these speeches, and then Ryan Reynolds is just like, I'm sorry, man. I can't understand what you're saying. And then to like lean into it harder, it freaking works to the point where then you like have this like spice. But then the thing I will say overall about these, I know we got to be sparse with our time here now. About all these, the movie, and there's a lot of things. There's a lot I want to say in terms of these cameos. Like, you know, going into this movie, the idea was that everyone's in this movie, and that's a mistake on most people's parts. We should not write this movie before we go and see it. We didn't get any of the X-Men. We didn't get so there's my one couple of critiques. I don't have a ton about this movie, but one of them is like it's advertised as this like swan song to the Fox Marvel series. And I'm like, but I don't feel like we saw enough people from the Fox Marvel movies to feel like it's a swan song. They gave us Sabretooth. The only actors who were there, they gave us Sabretooth and Pyro, played by the same actors, and then a bunch of people like, you know, what was the guy who from Jason Fleming's character from the Red Devil guy?
He's X-Men First Class.
Yeah, X-Men First Class, but like that wasn't the same actor who played him in the movie, and it wasn't Kelly Hu playing Lady Deathstroke, but they were there, and it wasn't Vinnie Jones playing Juggernaut, but Juggernaut was in it, so we didn't have a lot of like full. But what did get was kind of like a bunch of kind of forgotten characters who were in properties that aren't beloved, like Chris Evans from the Fantastic Four movies, which was, I mean, the second he was there, I was like, he's not Cap. Like I knew the second he took his hood off, I was like, he's going to be Johnny Storm and Johnny Fighter Guy. But, you know, Fantastic Four is a, you know, kind of a universally not beloved franchise. They're not good movies. And Elektra is a terrible film, and she is also from a movie Daredevil, which I just rewatched to kind of get ready for this movie because I hadn't seen it in a long time. Daredevil is a terrible film. Terrible. And then
I was at the All H panel for Daredevil with Ben Affleck and what's his face?
Colin Farrell?
Colin Farrell. And Jon Favreau, and then the director of Grumpier Old Men.
I mean, just a terrible, terrible film. And then Channing Tatum never got to play Gambit. And the thing what I'm getting at here is that like we didn't get what I think people thought we were going to get, but what we got was the cameos that we got. They weren't just like on set for 2 hours. They were like there for like Chris Evans was on set for like a week, or maybe 4 days, and Channing Tatum had to go to like stunt choreo, and they had to go to like stunt training and stuff, and they were able to keep all that secret. And I would have enjoyed like a giant cameo fest, like getting actually some time with these characters was actually kind of refreshing.
I liked, you know, I was all smiles during that big battle sequence with all of the different multiversal characters, because this was, you know, one of the things I love about my comic reading time would be these giant crossover events where it's not only characters that you don't see together often, but also a different version of that character or the old version of that character, or, you know, that to me, I didn't really care about buttoning up X-Men. I was looking forward to deeper connections into the broader MCU, and then, you know, this multiverse team of Elektra, Blade, Johnny Fire Guy, you know, I think that it was a swan song to a certain phase of superhero films, and a certain, like, I think that it, in a very earnest way, said like, hey, let's put down all the hate we've been piling on these movies forever, because at a certain point, these were all very excited people trying to make a fun superhero movie for us. And let's not waste any more time crapping on Elektra or Fantastic Four. Blade obviously has a better reputation, but
that's a movie too where they've been actively trying. Like, let's be real, Wesley Snipes would play Blade, would make 50 Blade movies. Like he's wanted to play that. He still thinks he should be playing the character. And
he would show up in an IRS van. They'd push him out, and then two guys in dark suits and sunglasses would be like this.
When's that paycheck coming in? No, but you know, he himself though, like they've been trying to get this Blade movie off the ground and they can't. And then they even mention it in the movies, like, you know, I'm the one and only Blade. Like, you're right. There was something to this idea of, and I think this is like the reason why we didn't get any other X-Men besides Wolverine is because I think they're all going to come out in Secret Wars, but because they're not dead in that universe. They're dead in the universe that we pulled Wolverine from, because Wolverine is dead in. All right, first, God, there's so. How much time do you got, man? Do we have like 5 more minutes?
I gotta get off in like 10 minutes.
Okay, there's so much we have to hit on here. The fact that this movie opens with him desecrating Logan's body, but because it's made of adamantium, he's using it to kill people. That was the dancing to Bye Bye Bye, the like cutaways to him doing the choreography. I was kind of like, that's fine. Set to the music was funny.
I didn't need the choreo either, but the whole idea that somebody has of using, I sat there appreciating the full lineage of somebody pitching that as a funny thing and then seeing it all the way through to IMAX at the Chinese theater. Like, what if he used his arm as a nunchuck or whatever? That stray thought that somebody had as a doodle that becomes the opening sequence.
It worked. It worked for me, and I think what it signals is like it's two different things. You could say that we're definitely done. Like, this Logan is very much dead. But it's also saying that like this there's something to the fact that at the end of this movie, the universe that contains all of the X-Men isn't dead. So that's the whole point of this movie. Like, it made it feel like what we were doing was bringing Deadpool and Wolverine into the MCU, which we did. But what we also did,
I thought they wound up on Earth 11000.
They did. So that's what I'm saying. What they did is they actually. Everything that's happened in 1005 is now technically MCU canon at this point, I would think.
We don't know how much is happening. Well.
I'm just saying we can have James McAvoy show up. We can have Michael Fassbender. We can have Jennifer Lawrence. We don't have to.
The universe. It's the universe that Monica Rambeau wound up in.
Yes. So we don't need to like. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think what we're getting is we can have the X-Men just show up in Secret Wars or Doomsday and then scrap them and get a whole new or whatever. Like, we don't have to find new people first. I think that's what this movie was kind of trying to accomplish. We got 10 minutes. What should we do here? Let's see.
Winners, losers, just close out the.
Is there anything else you want to hit on? We mentioned how this is. Let's just tack this real quick. So, do these cameos and do the things that we got in this movie in terms of the way we treated Wolverine. Did this walk a fine line? Did this teeter too much on fan service, or was everything that we saw in here kind of earned?
I think it was both. I think it was like, here's a bunch of fan service we earned, and
that's a good way to put it. Yeah,
to earn it as we go, I think that it was a shift. Like, the reason I like this movie so much is that it's different than the previous two, while still being its own thing. And I think that it's all more further integration into MCU. It signals the arrival of the X-Men. Like, it's just it was a really fun comic book movie. It was something true to itself, to its roots.
If I agree. I'll only say one more thing that I would say is a thing that I was not expecting. This movie felt like it was made in October of 2020 and not last year. There seemed at times like there was 3 people in this film, which there was. And there were times where the movie felt very empty and very expansive. I don't know if that was a choice or what. I don't know if we're trying to say that Cassandra Nova has taken over all of the void. One other critique I would have is that why is, of all the X-Men characters we could have used, like, why Pyro? Like Sabretooth got killed immediately, which is a funny bit. When he was holding up the head, I thought that was very funny. But then it was like Pyro ends up being this like kind of pivotal plot point. And I was like, his character is not like, oh God, thank God we saw Pyro. You know what I mean? It was a weird.
Yeah.
He served the purpose with Chris Evans, which I thought was fantastic. Like, him taking the fire away from Johnny Fire Guy was fantastic. But then after that, I was like, really? We can't is it just budget? We couldn't pay to get Rebecca Romijn Stamos? Rebecca.
They might have just had Pyro.
Not Rebecca Romaine Stamos, just Rebecca Romaine. We can't get Rebecca Romaine just to come in the Mystique. Will she not wear the costume? I was like, there's a more beloved villain we could have had than Pyro.
Yeah, I think Pyro is just. I think maybe that's just a little bit of fan service. Like,
was he already living in England? And they were like, yeah, we've already blown the budget on, 10 days of Channing Tatum. Can you just come do this for like $50? Yeah, you got it. They flew him. You have to fly yourself out. Who from this cast will fly yourself out to London? Oh, Pyro was the first guy to respond. So there we go.
Yeah, he was already doing a signing at a London Comic-Con.
There we go. Oh wait, he's here. We're gonna use you. Oh really? Okay, cool. All right, winners and losers. Who's the big winner?
Me for seeing a fun comic book movie that had a big crossover like I always loved as a child in it.
Yeah, I would say I got a couple winners. Hugh Jackman, I feel like to truly take this, to truly like close the book on this character, but then find a whole new take, and just watching him play against Ryan Reynolds, which on paper should not work. It shouldn't. Like, Ryan Reynolds is very fast, very sharp, known for being kind of a quick-witted individual, and Hugh Jackman is like an Oscar-nominated actor, but very much holds his own, very funny, very like, if you take the balance of this movie is what it's advertised as, which is planes, trains, and automobiles, and Ryan Reynolds is John Candy, and Steve Martin is Hugh Jackman, like, it works, man. He did a really good job. I would also say, I don't know, Channing Tatum. Channing Tatum just finally getting able to play Gambit after so long was refreshing. And I was like, just do this exact same thing, but have Lord and Miller direct it and let it rip. Like that, just do it.
Just made my heart race. But I'm like, I think that what we saw was all Channing Tatum really wanted to do. With the character, probably the whole thing was just in service of him. Was like, I want to wear the trench coat, I want the armor, I want a bow staff, and I want playing cards.
And it was fantastic. It was really great. And now the loser, this is come on.
They even had a whole bunch of ships out there in the void.
Just tons of crap just laying around. A giant 20th Century Fox. We have huge like Thanos circle rings or whatever as they're driving. There's just truly. Like, I know we're up against it here. Like, we have T-minus 5 months until Brave New World, which is when we will storm the Capitol if it's not in that movie. But right. this was a big miss on Kevin's part. Big, huge miss.
Your days are numbered, Kevin. I mean, as the head of Marvel. I don't mean like as a physical threat. I mean, with making poor decisions like this, your business acumen is questionable.
All right, let's rush through the rest of this stuff. Can we get another ad read real quick?
Yeah, of course. We've got Uncle Rick Caruso's Summerfest at the Grove. Some of the events you can participate in. Drone races. We put antennas on all the feral cats. We got Shop Till You Drop. We turn off the AC and let only the nuttiest tourists loose in a pitch black J. Crew. And then Uncle Santa Rick's XXXmas in July, an adult-only Yuletide review. Join Uncle Santa Rick and his naughty little elves as they delight and titillate. Warning, Uncle Santa Rick is a, quote, hungry puppy. I don't know what that means. Yeah, so those are some of the events. It's game time, right? We have a game to play.
Yeah, do you have time for game time? We can push to next week. All right, here it comes. You ready?
It's going to be fast and loose. Let's do it.
Fast and loose.
I can't hear it, so I'm dancing to it.
I'll let you know when it's over.
With your body?
Yeah, I'll just stop. All right, go ahead. It's your game.
Okay,
go for it.
This is earringing true or false. The ultimate should this character have an earring or not game. I'm going to read you a name of a famous Harrison Ford character. You're going to tell me whether or not the character would be improved by having Harrison Ford's iconic earring. Okay. So, Indiana Jones.
No.
That's correct. Already has hat, only one head thing. Jack Ryan.
Yeah.
Yes, would have signaled he was a progressive man of the 90s, just like the actor playing him, Han Solo.
No.
No, that's correct. No. Vest and earring and boots equals too much statement. The guy from Sabrina.
Yes.
Yes, he was a stuffy old guy, and it would have given him the edge over Greg Kinnear, also featured.
Yes.
The president from Air Force One.
No.
Actually, the answer is yes. It would have signaled he was a progressive man of the 90s, just like the actor playing him.
Yep.
And Red Hulk.
Yes.
Yeah, because just imagine the needle they'd have to use. It'd have to be a big needle. And that's ear-ringing, true or false. The ultimate, should this character have an earring game?
What a great one. Do we have time for a hoopla or no?
No.
No. All right. Let's do one more ad read then.
Okay. Again, summer days, Summerfest at Uncle Rick Caruso's The Grove. We've got free movies between 9 a.m. and noon, Monday through Friday. All movies will be free in the movie theater, but every screen is showing Grab 'em by the Malls, the Rick Caruso story.
Grab 'em by the malls.
Also, this one just says, they filled the Barnes & Noble with whipped cream. And then finally, they have Touch Mario Lopez. Join us for a live taping of Access Hollywood, during which you can touch Mario Lopez. Do you have what it takes to turn on the AC? And that's Summerfest. That's Summerfest at Uncle Rick Caruso's The Grove.
I love that so much. Turn on the AC Slater, baby. I love it. That's literal and figurative. I love that. Well done. My daughter's watching this show on Netflix called Alexa and Kate, and Alexa's mom is played by Tiffany Amber Thiessen, and it's just very refreshing to see Kelly Kapowski rocking and rolling all week long. These happy days are yours and mine.
She's terrific.
She is terrific. I was a big Kelly Kapowski fan growing up, and I still am to this day. We'll skip what the dogs think, and we'll just say, hey, Alex, where can the folks find you?
At Duke_Midnight or Dr_Alex on Instagram and Threads, or wherever major magazines are sold.
I'll be quick. KG Donut King on Instagram and Threads. You please, August 23rd at 8 p.m. at the Elysian Theater. Process is going to be doing our show at 8 o'clock. This is a fully improvised audition. We get the name of a play, and then we improvise the auditions. We do the table read, complete with scripts, empty scripts in our hands. We do rehearsals, and then we actually perform the play. It's all fully improvised. It is one of the most fun times you will have at the theater, LA, the Elysian Theater, 8 o'clock, August 23rd. Go to theelysiantheater.com for tickets.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Kenny is one of the best improvisers in the city. You'll never go wrong seeing him on a stage.
I love when you say that. All right, that's all we got time for today. But we'll be back next week talking about God knows what. I guess we finally have to start watching House of the Dragon. I've already watched it. I'm not caught up, though.
I got to watch it. And
we got to watch it.
I'll watch both.
Oh, The Boys is fantastic. Later this month, though, Ring of Power. I'm very excited to be able to talk about some hard fantasy with elves and dwarves and whatnot. But we'll talk next week. Thanks for watching, friends.
Bye.